Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and Brandon Gill shuts down Jasmine Crockett, who can't stop whining over the cuts to USAID. Let's dive in.
We all know that my Republican colleagues have a weird fetish with dictators or wannabe dictators. So it should not come as a surprise that they're here attacking global democracy programs. For 6 decades, USAID has been vital in reducing global poverty and hunger, helping to resolve health threats like the Ebola outbreak, which reached Dallas, where I represent, in 2014, and countering regional threats from Russia and China. Not only is pro-Putin President Trump threatening economic warfare against our closest allies and partners, he's also defying a court order to release billions of dollars in U.S. foreign aid. This committee should be providing oversight of the executive branch's illegal impoundment of federal funds, but we're here today so that the chairwoman can peddle new conspiracy theories about U.S. foreign aid. The dismantling of USAID is just another part of the Republicans' chaotic foreign policy and pro-dictator agenda.
I now recognize the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Gill, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and thank you so much for holding this hearing today. We've heard throughout this hearing a bit more of the same shrill calumny against President Trump, but I am happy that a few of our colleagues did concede that we need more oversight and auditing of our foreign aid. I'd like to remind them that every time Republicans try to do that and audit where government money is going, they try to stonewall us. So I hope that they will get on board with protecting the American taxpayer. I think as it relates to foreign aid, to the extent that we do engage in foreign aid, it of course should advance American strategic geopolitical interests, our commercial interests, and of course should help ameliorate major humanitarian crises. But it ought to be rooted in realism, which is a recognition that we have strategic interests abroad that we ought to advance, and it ought to be rooted in a rational conception of the way the world actually is, and not the way some leftist secular bureaucrat at USAID believes the world should be. I think that forcing transgenderism and novel sexual fetishes on more traditional cultures does not advance American interests. It alienates the United States on the world stage. We've also seen USAID money going to oppose many of our allies abroad. Madam Chair gave a few examples, and I'll give a few more here. We've seen USAID money funding efforts to influence elections in India against Prime Minister Modi. We've seen our ally Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban accusing USAID of funding left-wing media outlets that are opposing him. We've seen USAID give $12.5 million just last year to the American Near East Refugee Agency, whose staff openly called for violence against Jews. The refugee agency also funded projects of the Unlimited Friends Association, which is a proxy organization for Hamas. This is not advancing our strategic interests abroad, and these are not promoting American values. Mr. Unger, I've got a couple questions for you. You've mentioned USAID as representing American ideas in action. Is that right?
Yes.
Do you think that spending $2 million for sex changes and LGBTQ activism in Guatemala is a reflection of American values?
The information that you are using is
Yes
so
or no?
faulty that it doesn't
It's
even
a yes or no
describe
question.
to USAID
It's
projects.
No, that is a direct description of what we're spending our tax dollars. Do you think that sex
that-
changes and LGBTQ activism in
Is that what you're-
Guatemala
is that coming
is an
from
accurate
Doge?
reflection of American values abroad?
Is
It's a
that
yes or
data
no
coming
question.
from Doge?
Is that a yes or a no?
What I want to understand
this is
the
a
data
yes or
coming
no
from
question.
Doge? Because they counted the same
I'll take that
USAID
as-
program
you're
3
You're not going to
times.
filibuster. Reclaiming my time here. We'll go to another one. How about $1.5 million to promote job opportunities for LGBTQ individuals in Serbia? Is that a reflection of American values?
Providing job opportunities for allies around the world is absolutely in the interest of the American people.
Well, I would like to maybe challenge you if you really believe in promoting DEI. I've got about 20 seconds left. Then, in giving jobs to somebody based on their minority status or the color of their skin or their sexual proclivities, you might want to consider stepping down from your job and giving it to somebody who has more minority points than you do.
Well, if that were what
with that, I
DEI is
yield.
about,
My time
maybe
is
I would,
over.
but it's
I'm
not what
yielding.
it's about.
Oh, yes, it is. That is exactly what DEI does. It is quite literally designed to try to get around our civil rights legislation that forbids Americans from hiring based on the sex, gender, skin color, everything. That's what the civil rights laws are supposed to protect. So if you want to write an end around and talk about DEI, Mr. Unger, you might need to start owning up to it. And I think that sort of leadership needs to happen by example. So yeah, Brandon Gill was right to call this dude out. And furthermore, this dude, Mr. Unger here, is one of the worst kinds of bureaucrats out there. All right? He's not a direct bureaucrat. He is someone that defends bureaucrats. He's the kind of person that says, yes, I know better than you, and this is how I am going to waste your money. And you will thank me for it. Hey, y'all. Here's the deal. Gold loves President Trump. Under Trump's first term, the price of gold soared 53%, and the price of silver jumped 51%. Since the start of the second term, gold has skyrocketed even higher, breaking records and even outperforming stocks. Here's what I like about precious metals like gold and silver. They have been used as a store of value for centuries. Governments can't easily manipulate it. They are used as hedges against market risk and, of course, against inflation. That's why I partnered with the amazing people over at Goldco. Goldco is an award-winning precious metals company. They are fans of this show, and they have helped millions of Americans just like y'all to purchase over $3 billion in gold and silver. Right now, you can get a free copy of their 2025 gold and silver kit. On top of that, you might also qualify for their amazing unlimited silver bonus offer. So don't wait on this. Go to politibrawlgold.com to learn more. That's politibrawlgold.com or call 855-644-GOLD. That doesn't fly with the vast majority of Americans. That doesn't fly with tax-paying citizens. That doesn't fly when you are supposed to be stewarding our money, and we were dumb enough to trust people like this. You know, there's a part of me that's actually a little bit sad here because there's a whole section of Republicans that consider themselves compassionate conservatives, and I used to be taught by a whole lot of them throughout my college experience, and they just refuse to admit the fact that they've been swindled, that they have been there's been sort of an end around. There's been an end run made around them, and they don't understand fully the consequences of their inaction. They have thought that they have set a nice little watch, and it would just continue to tick until the end of time. Well, folks, USAID has now been proven time and time and time again that it has taken away your taxpayer dollars, all for the whole idea of projecting soft power. You know, I wish I could be going into Jasmine Crockett right now, but I think she's secondary in this whole little debate here, because not only is USAID basically the piggy bank of the CIA to run these weird operations across the world as soft power, and then the argument goes, if we don't project the soft power, the Chinese will. Okay, the Chinese Communist Party don't project soft power. They come in and quite literally offer third world nations a deal. We will help build your infrastructure, but it's going to come at a price. And that price is to be paid later. That's what the Chinese are doing, and the third world absolutely hates it. But since the Chinese are the only ones playing that game, they're forced to play ball with them. So I think USAID is going in the complete wrong direction. But there's also something even worse going on. The whole idea of waste, fraud, and abuse. Here's a really good example of what has been really happening with USAID. And it's not just, sex puppet shows for Ecuadorians or whatever Brandon Gill was talking about. 4 men, including a government contracting officer for the United States Agency for International Development, and 3 owners and presidents of companies, have pleaded guilty for their roles in a decade-long bribery scheme involving at least 14 prime contracts worth over 550 million U.S. taxpayer dollars. Oh boy. That's a chunk of change, all right? 550 million, that's halfway to $1 billion, folks. And they constantly talk about the idea of, oh, it's just a drop in the bucket. Well, you keep on dripping into that bucket, and come morning time, it's overflowing. We've got to take care of these issues, and we're seeing issues like this get rooted out as we speak. And in shock to no one, these 4 gentlemen, I can't believe I'm calling them gentlemen since I really don't want to insult them. I don't know them well enough. But most of them live in Maryland. Most of them live in that Beltway bubble, some of the wealthiest counties in the United States, all because of their connections to either weapons manufacturers or, in this case, USAID money laundering schemes. And the worst part about all of this, the worst part, is that we now have direct ties to different politicians across the political spectrum. I used to talk about how there's only a handful of ways to make money in politics. One is you sit down with the people who run your stock portfolios, and you kind of just give them a wink and a nod and say, hey, pay attention to what committee meetings I'm going to today. There's also book deals and signings and speaking tours, and colleges will pay that for some reason. Guess where some of that money comes from? USAID. And then there's, of course, the Hillary and Bill Clinton ways, which leave a trail behind them. The wrong kind of trail. But there's also the USAID way, where you set up one of your friends, one of your family members, as the head of a small organization, a nonprofit, so they can get money from USAID and treat it like their own personal piggy banks. Well, fortunately, that era has come to a grinding halt. And people like Jasmine Crockett are out here defending this. Unless she's getting some kickback, the only reason to defend this is because of Trump derangement syndrome. USAID is not throwing out the baby with the bathwater. There's no baby in the bathwater. The baby has been dissolved. There's no baby in this bathwater anymore. And this water has gone out to the sewage where it belongs, and maybe we can start reforming it. But I think the biggest culprit of all of this are guys like Mr. Unger. This dude, who is merely a witness, who is trying to defend the whole thing, instead of owning up to it like a man, tries to just deflect and deny, oh, this isn't really happening. Where did you get your information, Doge? This kind of nonsense needs to stop. And it starts when this dude no longer has a job because of the USAID slush fund, and instead he can make his living going back to swindling rich white liberals instead of swindling the U.S. taxpayer. Thank you, Chairwoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, and thank you, Brandon Gill, for putting these people in their place. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Until then, y'all have a good one.